Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. When President Obama launched My Brother's Keeper last year, his goal was to help boys and young men of color reach their full potential. The president called on the private and public sectors to provide disadvantaged youth with mentoring and other support networks. The recent report from the White House Council of Economic Advisors outlines the many barriers to success for blacks and Hispanics. For example, only 21% of black men and 12% of Hispanic men have earned a college degree by their late 20s. That compares to nearly 40% of white men. And more than 60% of the state and federal prisoners in 2011 were people of color. That's nearly double their share of the total United States population. Here today to talk about improving opportunities for young men of color is the director of the Michigan My Brother's Keeper initiative, Richard Carson. He's joined by Jeannine Gant, the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metropolitan Detroit, and Donald Geford, a student at Detroit's Northwestern High School. Welcome, all of you, to American Black Journal. Richard, I want to start with you. When the president said this last year, there were a lot of people who cheered, a lot of people were really excited. A lot of people were critical, though, and saying, this is just talk, it's just rhetoric. It's not really something that's going to move the needle on some of those numbers I was talking about. Talk about, over the last year, what you've done to make this actually matter for people.
Well, I think one thing that it did, it really awakened people and actually I think gave them permission to address this issue. It brought it out to the forefront, and I know that it engaged a lot of both public sector and private sector organizations to say, hey, this is a problem and we really have to look at it systemically. How can we collaborate and bring people together and really work towards furthering what our, and it's not just about young men of color anymore. It's about young people of color. It's young people of color who have this disadvantage and are disenfranchised and a lot of times don't feel there's a lot of hope because they see what's within the prism of their experience. So what we've tried to do in the last year is work with organizations and bring them together so that we can expose our young people to more things, whether it be culturally, socially, educationally, and really come forward and try to make it known that there are options. And a lot of times that's one of the things that lacks is that ability to recognize there are options beyond what you just see in your particular neighborhood. Sure.
And a lot of what the president was talking about was not necessarily starting new programs. It's about coordinating existing programs and focusing them specifically on this task. As you said, raising the issue and saying overtly, this is what we're trying to change.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that has always been missing, and especially I think in our Southeast Michigan region, is that collaborative effort. And we have so many, you know, in my travels around the state and especially here in Southeast Michigan, I'll go into church basement, recreation halls where they're doing great work with, you know, maybe 10 or 15 young people, but they don't have the resources or the ability to really expand and grow upon what they're doing. But what we've tried to do is bring them out and combine them and have them work collaboratively with other organizations who are doing something similar, or even maybe if they're a mentoring program, workforce development may be something they need to incorporate in their program. Maybe health is a piece. So we take all these various pieces which are necessary to come to a holistic approach to forming a very productive individual and try to combine those and collaborate and bring those resources to bear when you go to funders. And funding is a very important thing. When you approach funders, they look at, are you able to collaborate? Because every organization and every individual can't do everything for everybody.
It's about scale.
Absolutely. It's about
some
scale.
Level,
Absolutely.
Jeannine, Big Brothers Big Sisters, a big mentoring program here in Detroit. Talk about how that fits under the rubric of this My Brother's Keeper initiative.
You know, that's a great question. Big Brothers Big Sisters has been around in Detroit for 40 years, and the report that you were talking about with the White House talked about mentoring as one of the solutions to really help. I mean, the cost of mentoring might be $1,000 a year to match a child up in a safe relationship compared to the $100,000 that you might actually spend on them in the juvenile justice system. You know, I've been very fortunate to be a part of conversations with My Brother's Keeper, the Skillman Foundation, and lots of other organizations talking about what works for our kids. and really wanting to do something that's going to make a difference, not just the talk, but really doing some things. And time after time after time after time, mentoring comes up as a solution. An intergenerational relationship with a kid, with an adult, is seen as just as important as ensuring that kids are on track academically by the 3rd and 5th grade. I mean, it's just that important for our youth. So mentoring is absolutely a part of the conversation, and Big Brothers Big Sisters has been a part of it for several years. We've been very intentional around wanting to support our youth of color, in particular boys of color. And we've got a great program that we're doing right now, in fact, with the Department of Labor, our Youth Workforce Initiative program, where we do a lot of various activities for the kids, and we give them a mentor on top of it, right? So it's like you said, there are folks who are doing really great activities and really great efforts for our kids, and we just need to pull it all together. And mentoring is seen as one of those threads that can help a child be successful.
Sure. The numbers that I was reading were national numbers. In the open, I would imagine that if I try to make those numbers local here to Detroit, they would probably get worse.
They multiply.
Absolutely.
And you get, this is something you guys see on the front lines every day, right?
We serve about 1,000 youth every year, and probably 75–85% of those kids are from the city of Detroit. They're coming from impoverished backgrounds. Many of them attend low-achieving schools. Many of them are coming from single-family households headed by women. Many are in foster care. Many have incarcerated parents. People would generally consider those at-risk youth. If you've been a court-involved youth, it takes it up another level where you're considered a high-risk youth. We have a significant number of kids in our community that reach that high-risk youth marker. And the idea that kids are disenfranchised, absolutely. I was so grateful, that, you heard about what happened, and you saw everyone saw what happened in Baltimore. That just the fact that it didn't happen in Detroit, I don't know. I'm not even sure why that happened, because our youth are just as disenfranchised.
We're just as close to...
Absolutely. But I tell you, My Brother's Keeper, the Skillman Foundation, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the City of Detroit, the Mayor's Office are really behind this effort and really wanted to help our youth to be successful and putting some resources behind making that happen. I mean, many of us are no longer working in silos. We're working collaboratively together to say, how can we help? Because the time is now, as someone recently said, this is ground zero for our black youth.
No question.
This is a war for them. We need to figure out how we can rebuild them. And so mentoring is one of those options that can help kids to be successful.
Donald, I always say that we spend a lot of time talking about young people, about young people. We don't talk to young people a whole lot and hear from them about what the experience is like for them in Detroit, and with programs like this. Tell me about your high school, Northwestern, a school with really proud history in Detroit, but a place that's struggling right now and in a neighborhood that's pretty tough.
Well, first, I came from Cass, so when I went to Northwestern, it was like, oh, I gotta hurry up, get my grades up, and get out of here so I can go back. Right? And going there, it was like, this is a jungle. It was crazy, and I was like, I really don't want to be in Detroit like this long, because it's like scary, you gotta get out. And when I was going there, my mom was like, she was still trying to keep me on the right path. So one day she got me in the car, and she was like, okay, well, I just came from practice. And she took us to the wellness plan building where Big Brothers Big Sisters is at. And I was wondering why I was here, and I was having this interview with this community coach, and I was like, oh man, can we hurry up, because I'm starving. I don't really want to be here. And he asked me questions so I can get matched with a big brother, and I was like, I'm kind of grown now. Why would I want to be?
What do I need that for?
Right, yeah. And so a couple months later, I actually started like growing into the program, and it was a great experience for me, because my money management is horrible, and they had financial classes and business etiquette classes, and taught me how to be like a better person, a better young man, and the how to look during certain situations. And so being as far as the mentoring, I'm matched with a big brother. Well, we're not really doing anything like that fun right now, but still later on, I'm looking forward to doing like great activities with him, such as you know, just regular things like going out, like talking,
Sure,
you know, things like that.
What year are you in high school?
2016. I'm a senior.
You're going into your senior year.
Yes, I am.
So you're not going to go back to Cass.
No, actually, like Northwestern is like starting to pick back up its reputation. Like this upcoming year, we're starting to get AP classes and you know like that. So I'm just gonna stay here and like help, like leave something behind for other people to come.
And you feel like the mentor has helped you sort of focus that energy and your interest on what comes next, right?
Well, yes. Before this program, I actually had my big cousin. Like, he was kind of like a role model for me, and now like I have like 2 role models. Maybe the whole office is like my role models, you know, kind of. So it was like, it wasn't really anything new, but it was like I was gaining from it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeannine and Richard, I'm wondering, that's a really inspiring story. At what point, or what do we need to do to get to the point where we have, where we've reached enough of kids like Donald in the city? I mean, this is not a program that's going to have a whole lot of new money, correct?
There are, there are about 14,000 at-risk youth in the city of Detroit, about 14,000. We only serve 1,000. There are other mentoring organizations that are out there as well. We're the biggest one, but there are others out there as well.
14,000?
Yeah,
It's
a huge number. And one of the big problems we have is mentors, right? Is
people to do
really finding men in particular who are able to come out and spend 4 hours a month with a kid. As he's saying, you don't have to be a PhD or anything like that. Just a man in the community that'd be interested in helping our youth to see a better way. To help youth to understand that they can be successful, to take some time with them, to help reiterate what they're already hearing, but allowing them to truly believe that it is possible for them. I mean, this young man says that he wants to go to Clark Atlanta, right? I mean, he didn't think that a year ago.
College, right?
He didn't think that a year ago, right? But programs like ours and others are really helping to move the needle for those kids. Basically, there is no extra money. We just continue to need the community to support what we're trying to do
step up. And
to get engaged and get
involved. That's the whole idea of the My Brother's Keeper, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that people overthink what mentoring is, that it's more of a commitment than it really is. Like Jeannine said, 4 hours a month, hour a week. And if you want to do more, of course you have the ability to do more. But I think that, we have so many, especially African-American professional organizations. You and I remember NABJ. We have the black attorneys. We have the black accountants, black engineers. We have the historically black colleges and universities. Let's have those kind of organizations step up and say, hey, I can commit 4 hours a month to come and help a young person out. And those are the kind of things we need to, and we're actually working with the Morehouse Alumni Association and the HBCU network to say, hey, they're challenging each other. Let's have our churches challenge each other. We have enough African-American churches in the area. Let's have a Greater Grace challenge Hartford and say who has the most mentors. And so those are the kind of things I think that will get momentum going if we can get those kind of challenges going on.
Okay. Thank you guys for being here. Great program. And we'll hope to move those numbers in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.